What's happening, everyone? Hope you're having a good weekend and welcome back to another episode of Crypto Catch Up. Today I wanted to do a review for you on another new blockchain and what's looking to be an exciting platform. Now this project is around about a month old. There's hardly any information around it, and even their Telegram has only around 2,000 people, which is actually quite low because it is still brand new. Now with this project, it is looking at the Internet of Things and combining blockchain technology. So not brand new, of course. You've got things like IOTA, IoT chain out of China, which both utilize DAG technology. This is not going to be utilizing DAG technology. They are using a standard blockchain with side chains. But obviously, as we move into the future or even in the coming years, IoT or the Internet of Things is going to be very prevalent. We're looking at, home devices, hundreds of devices around the workplace, around manufacturing equipment, supply chains, health organizations, hospitals, where it's going to be using these always on data capturing devices to infer information, to understand I guess what us as humans are up to, how they can then provide a better service, whether it be turning on light bulbs or understanding when you're home and when you're not home, so the power can be turned off, or applications like that. So that is something that IOTA and IoT chain are not covering. They are simply doing machine-to-machine payments, and this project here is looking to build that ecosystem because IoT devices are low cost, they need low power, and they don't have a lot of storage space. You need to build a very lightweight blockchain, but you also need to build in a hell of a lot of privacy because, like I said earlier, is that you're getting a lot of metadata. So these devices are capturing a lot of data about, whatever it is that they're tracking. And with that data, you can infer a lot of things. So like I said, if I was to leave home at a particular time and it was tracking that so it could save power, if somebody got their hands on that data, a robber could have a very good inference as to when I'm not there to, steal all my goods. And that's obviously not a good thing. So privacy is incredibly important when we're talking about the Internet of Things and blockchain technology. But enough about whistling on all of that. Let's have a look at this. Now, the website as a whole, if I scroll down, that is it. It's very basic. Now, if you look at Ian Berlin or anybody else and their metrics, I'm not going to go through metrics. I'm looking at the project as it is, what the terminology, what the wording says to me and how well they're established. I don't have a fancy spreadsheet for you to, give it a number rating. I'll let you decide based on what I am seeing in the conversation that we have here. So it's saying there that it's a decentralized network for Internet of Things, but it's powered by a privacy-centric blockchain, which is wonderful. That's what we're looking for. So it talks about that privacy, that scalability, and that interoperability between devices. So you could have one device which is, a sensor on your computer, on your home, and another device which is down the street. But if there's ever to be a need that you need to, I guess, communicate cross-chain, currently that might not be possible because of that heterogeneous nature that is required. The architecture might be different, the storage might be different. That particular IoT device right now could be owned by a big conglomerate that stores all the data in a cloud themselves and manages that, but that's really expensive. So adding these devices to a blockchain and decentralizing that network certainly adds benefit to these low cost, low power, low storage devices. So it's saying here that it has fast consensus with instant finality. So what we're talking about there is with the blocks that they can be confirmed, and as a user of that product or as a business that might be utilizing that product, they know for sure that that is not going to be changed. So unlike Bitcoin with their proof of work, the reason why we wait for 6 confirmations is because of that finality. We can't actually, at any one time be sure in our heart that that will not be changed, because it can be in certain circumstances. So based on what they're saying here is that they're utilizing obviously a different method to what Bitcoin does with their mining system to give them instant finality, which means you can have fast transactions. So low latency, which is always good. There's no, lag time between A to B. So like we said earlier, that built-in preserving technique, so stealth addresses, constant size ring signatures, and they're saying that they're lightweight. Now, if you're not aware of what ring signatures are or stealth addresses, we'll go through that quickly. It is a very complex side of things, but if you can imagine you have an input, that input is what is known as a ring signature. Now, what they're doing is a ring signature practically grabs you and a bunch of other people. And what it does is those other people are used as decoys. So with that input, it practically hides who the actual sender is and keeps you anonymous from the network, so no one can infer who that actual person was by utilizing this ring of people, which only one of them is actually the true signer of the transaction. Then you have your transaction, and then the output of that, they're utilizing stealth addresses, which once again is simply hiding the fact that you are who you are, so no one can infer where that information or that money has gone to, or that token has been utilized. And they also have something called bulletproof. I don't know if it's got any more than just bulletproof in here that I've read, but effectively what they're saying is that they're going to hide the transaction amount using a concept they're calling bulletproof, which can be called 1,000 other things. So they have this blockchain within blockchain function. So like they're saying Plasma, which if you haven't looked at is a very exciting piece of work going on with Ethereum and some other chains there. But it allows them to have that main root chain, which is IoTeX, but also these side chains or sub chains. Now, because Internet of Things devices are low powered, low cost, etc., these sub-chains need to be specific to the application. So you might have one that comes along and a sub-chain can be created by a company or a developer, and they might make that for, I don't know, bicycle locks in cities. And you'll have another one for supply chains and another one. So it allows those chains to run independently, but also to talk cross-chain utilizing this main IoTeX chain, which is something that is currently lacking in that IoT space. And you've got that DAO kind of coordination that it can utilize smart contracts to obviously control certain aspects. So if I come home and it notices me, it might turn on a light switch, etc. So like I said, very basic website. You can subscribe for the latest updates. Since subscribing, I haven't received anything. So there's not a lot going on. So other than that, you have your Telegram, your Twitter, your Medium, LinkedIn, Reddit, and obviously their emails. So we'll move along the line here and have a look at this careers page that I've opened up. So what I just want to read out is this about the company. It's the only place that they actually talk about it. So it is in the Bay Area, in Silicon Valley, in the USA. So they're building a next generation blockchain for Internet of Things, focusing on scalability, privacy, and enabling device coordination. Now they're saying it is still in stealth mode. So that could be why we are not seeing a lot. That is because it is a well-funded company in the blockchain sector. So we're not going to be, looking at what's going on here and speculating. We're just saying that these guys, they're not looking for a lot of money at the point in time, possibly why there hasn't been an ICO. But that could come out in the future, as they have a lot of things that they're actually investigating at the moment, which we'll cover in their white paper. So if we have a look at this FAQ here, so it is just saying it's a next generation platform. A lot of them use that terminology, so we're not going to dig right into that. It says it can solve, where a lot of other blockchains have lacked scalability, cost, privacy concerns, by applying this token economy to the Internet of Things. Like I said, most people consider IOTA as a competitor of this, but they aren't. Whereas IoTeX as a company is actually going to allow developers and companies to build those sidechains. So they're going to be this decentralized kind of blockchain, and lots of companies will run off them, but they'll have that cross communication ability, which obviously may not be used, but it may be used, and there may be a need for that from, you know, hospital to hospital, between devices, anything like that. There is a huge range of opportunity in the Internet of Things coming into the future. Like I said, it doesn't use DAG. There will be 10 billion IoTeX tokens, and like it says here, so their ERC20 token is what they'll release first, which is IoTeX is their ticker, and then they'll release their mainnet, which will have their native token of IOX. Now, their testnet is due out in April, and their mainnet is due out in July. So we're still looking to the future with this one here. There'll be a lot of other chains that come out in the meantime. So like I said, that just there, and then they're going to start focusing on the development tools to make it, you know, accessible for a company or a developer to create these subchains utilizing their platform, which is what they say here. It will allow people to create their own chains, have their own token generation events, or ICOs in a way, and go from there. All right. The next thing I just want to have a look at, guys, we might go through the social media that they have, just to give you a quick idea of how active they've been. So this is their Twitter, so 430 followers, you know, 19 tweets so far, and a lot of this stuff is just rehashed articles from other people. It's not even a lot of their own content, sorry. So like I said, very new. If we have a look at their Reddit, once again, look at that. It's a month old. There's a little bit of information saying, you know, I'm interested in it. Why is there no information about the team or anything like that? Because there is no roadmap in the white paper. There is no team information in the white paper. But that's why we have LinkedIn and we have our best friend Google. So I did a search of IoTeX because I used the information that they provided saying that they're from Silicon Valley. Well, I searched the Bay Area and this is what we find. So a few information, or a few people here. So the first guy I was interested in is the founder of IoTeX, Raulan. Probably bastardized that, but anyway, moving on. So that's who I was most keen on. So I had a look at this guy here. Let's have a look. Founding member, supposedly was lead of crypto R&D at Uber, software developer at Google and Oracle, and then has his PhD from University of Waterloo in Canada. Now, that for me was the sticking point, so I've got to, you know, have a search into that. So I did a search for him from the University of Waterloo, and I did find quite a number of articles which the professor or doctor was the author of or participated in that research material. So this is back from 2012, showing that he was doing some information or that study around RFID systems, which is great. That's an IoT device. So that was a thumbs up from me. And then I did another search for Google Scholar and found all of these articles and more, which RFID, cryptographic properties, which showed for me that obviously he is doing work in that space. He is a legit person. He has it on his LinkedIn as he is the founder. I am happy to say that this team is legit, especially if you're getting people citing your articles, especially from the IEEE, you know, people citing your stuff 102 times in other scholarly articles. That's pretty good news. The next one along, we have Jing Sun. Now, as we go through this, it looks like she is just an investor. So whether she is connected to a VC platform which has a lot of money, I went through these and I knew, you know, I know what Sliver was. Theta Labs, they are a recent ICO that happened at the end part of last year, and now you've got IoTeX. So nothing there in terms of whether the development team is strong, but obviously you know, strong investor backing, which is what they're saying. They're well funded already. Then you have one here, so a research scientist for the project, currently works at Facebook, but also has done some research, but has a large number of patents as well. Now they're mainly in the camera kind of sector, but nonetheless is a scientist, so I can appreciate that. All right, so very small team here. They've got advisor and then also marketer, but not a strong dev team to be seen. So certainly wait out on that information. We'll then move to their Medium. So they have done a fairly good article here on Medium on why they've created it. So they're saying that blockchain is suitable for this kind of application, that what they offer, the fact that their root chain manages these independent subchains that can run concurrently, that they can be provisioned by developers and companies, like we said, nothing new. So this is what I was talking about before, guys, is so you have that main root chain here, and then these subchains, which can be separate companies. They have fast consensus, they use those stealth addresses, those written signatures. Now the reason why constant size is important is because the more people that you're making up the ring signature, yes, it makes it more secure, but obviously it's heavier in terms of computational power required, which for an IoT application is certainly not something that we want, so that is good. And then, like I said, a hiding of the actual value of the transaction using bulletproof, or what they're calling bulletproofs. Nothing else really super exciting through here, so do have a read of that if you are interested. So let's get into the white paper. So far we've obviously had a look at the project as a whole, what it's trying to achieve, where it's based, you know, the 10 billion supply, the fact that there is no ICO as of yet, it is a very new project, that their team is obviously, you know, does have validity to it, and there's certainly an application of this project. So as a whole, what they're looking to deliver is good. And it's certainly something that I'll be watching, because I love projects like this. It's forward thinking. They're looking for that cross-chain ability, which is something that we lack in our very database per company driven world that we have, which is what blockchain is opening us up to be allowed to share that information across. So with this white paper, obviously it's embedded here. You can't click, you can't save. So if I was ever to actually try and check if anything of this was stolen material, I would need to physically type it in, which is tedious. So is that why they've done it? I don't know, but I do know that they have a huge amount of references in here. They have done the correct referencing, excuse me, so they are, you know, showing that they are legit. They are showing that they've got ideas from here, or they've built upon this. So I'm not concerned in any way, shape or form whether they feel or others feel that this is plagiarized, because they have referenced the correct material. Most people that come out and saying that they've plagiarized information most likely have never even completed a university degree, so I'm not interested in the FUD that comes out from that. So we'll go through this, guys, very quickly. One thing I will say though is that if you have never read a white paper, this is actually a really good white paper to read in terms of it being succinct. It actually covers a huge range of information from blockchains to IoT devices to different types of technology for privacy features, and gives it a quick little blurb of explaining what that is, and then explaining what it means to IoTeX as a project. So please have a read of this, even if you don't like this project, because it's actually a really well written white paper. So they first go into why Internet of Things is a big deal and the scalability problems, nothing new to us at all. They then reference, you know, the blockchain technology, what Satoshi has brought in. And then, like I said, they talk about the ingredients of what makes up a blockchain. This is educational at the least, let alone the fact that they're obviously trying to show you where they fit into the blockchain puzzle. From there, they do these a few tables throughout where they kind of compare what blockchain has to where the Internet of Things benefits from that. So do have a read through here. Like I said, they compare themselves to IOTA and to IoT chain and why they are different, and then they go through their architecture. So one thing that's important here to look at, guys, is that separation of duties. So currently, a lot of people are connecting all this information into one single blockchain, and that's a problem. It becomes very heavy on data, so you can't run a full node because you've got to store the whole blockchain. So what they're saying here is that they are only going to build side chains that are specific to a use case, which means that they'll be lightweight, they will be effective at what they are doing without putting computational overheads on these small IoT devices, which is awesome. Other than that, we've covered a lot of this. So like I said, another comparison of what kind of properties are required, and the fact that they're going to be using an unspent transaction amount model rather than an account-based model like Ethereum uses for determining how much is spent or unspent at any one time. They go through their subchains, and they talk about here using a new kind of WebAssembly web standard to build these high-performing, lightweight applications to use on the IoT devices as a whole. Once again, they actually go through quite a bit of information here, guys. A lot of it's going to go over your head in this middle point because it is complex, where they talk about the privacy. So zero knowledge proofs, ring signatures, and how they've improved on that, and a few other bits of information. So do go through this. I personally think this is a really well put together white paper, irrespective of the fact you can't download it or anything like that. Maybe that's because they don't want other people taking their good work. So I'm not going to speculate on that. This is looking to be a very solid project. Hopefully we got it to you a lot earlier than other people. That's what I'm going to try and do. I don't want to cover, you know, projects that are already out there getting a lot of buzz. Like I said, 2,000 people on their Telegram. That's not a lot of people. So have a look at the project. Let us know what you think in the comments below. As always, like and subscribe if you like this review of the project, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.